So often in the study of yoga, people approach it from the direction perhaps of philosophy, or they approach it from the direction of hatha yoga, physical exercise, or if they're meditative, they perhaps approach it strictly from technique. Even Kriya Yoga itself can be thought of simply as a technique. And if we do approach it single-mindedly from one of these directions without also including that heart element, we'll find that ultimately in the end the practice tends to become barren and tends to become dry. We must include that feeling element into it, that heart element, whereas the feeling is associated with the heart. It has to be in there, or else we're not going to be successful in the long run. Maybe in a little while, a short time we will be, but in the long run we'll see that we have to incorporate that into our practice of yoga, into our practice of meditation. There's an often told story from the life of Paramahansa Yogananda that I'd like to begin with. And it seems that when he was in Los Angeles at Mount Washington, there was a writer, perhaps he was a journalist, but he was a writer of one sort, came to interview him for an article that he was writing at that time. And he was somewhat of a pedantic scholar type. And he came and he sat down with Paramahansa Yogananda in the room where they were having the interview, and Master came in and sat. And the man started with a very abstruse question, somewhat philosophical, maybe it was even long-winded, I don't know. But it was very intellectual. And Paramahansa Yogananda, sizing up the quality of this gentleman, looked at him and simply said two words. He said, "Love God." The man, taking notes, said, well, love God, wrote that down, and then proceeded to his second question. And he asked him again something in the same vein of very abstruse, and went on, and Master just didn't say anything until the man had completed his question, and then simply said again those two words, but a little bit louder, "Love God." And the man now didn't quite know what to say, wrote that down and said, well, perhaps Yogananda didn't understand the question, perhaps, or not ready to answer it. And so he tried a third time and asked another question in a similar vein. And Yogananda, exasperated by this point, said very loudly, "Love God." And he got up and he went out. Well, he recognized very quickly this man's temperament, that what he needed, and perhaps his attitude was such that he deserved to be talked to rather strongly. Well, as it turned out, that writer did write his article and wrote about Yogananda, and it was a rather disdainful, negative article about Master seemingly not able to understand perhaps the subtleties of the philosophy of what he was trying to teach other people. And of course the man entirely missed the point of what Yogananda was trying to teach him at that time, certainly to tell him, was to awaken him to the necessity to awaken the heart element within him, that he was one of those that needed that side of his nature to be developed. And without the heart, without the feeling nature being awakened, we cannot make deep progress. We cannot progress to the degree that we would like. Because as Swamiji says in that writing, it's the essence of consciousness, the essence of self-awareness itself is the ability to feel. And that feeling element, that sense of feeling that gives us, you might say, life to this existence that we are here, separates us from just being mechanistic or a robot. There are scientists are, of course, trying to develop artificial intelligence and robots, but it's without that feeling element, it will never be able to replicate what we have in this human body that has been given to us. We have to have that side of ourselves developed. Now,